Hello everybody, my name is Colleen McTigue, and some of you may know me as the facilitator for Transgender Niagara. Some of you may know me as a local artist, visual artist, and in fact I have been nominated for the 2020 St. Catherine's Arts Awards in the category of Emerging Artist. So that's happening a week from Sunday. No, that's happening on the 25th, October 25th, 7 p.m. And it's online. I hope you will check for details and tune in. I think it's going to be a spectacular show. I'm really looking forward to it, and it's something that I'm very proud to have been nominated for. But tonight I'm going to focus on my musical journey. I'm going to give you a rundown of what I do as a musician and some of the instruments that I play, and just sort of a bit of how they work, how I play them. I'll play you some of my original songs, and if I seem nervous, it's because I am pre-recording this on Thursday, October 8th. So it's this will air on Sunday, October 11th. And first of all, I want to say I hope everyone's having a wonderful Thanksgiving weekend, and I hope everybody is able to get together with family, at least virtually. I understand that in Ontario the government has said that we're not supposed to get together with anyone that we don't actually live with, so I hope you live with someone that you love. And I hope that you're able to get online and talk with other people that you love and celebrate the Thanksgiving holiday. I'm going to do my best to fill an hour of time with something that I hope you will find interesting, possibly educational, and I hope you'll find it enjoyable as well. So one of the things I thought I would do is basically talk about my journey in music, my musical journey, and where it began, and where I've gotten to so far with it. So you might wonder, okay, first of all, I'm sitting here in my studio, and you can see a number of different instruments around me, mostly guitars. But some keyboards as well, and I will show you, I won't go through every guitar, but I will show you some of the guitars, and I'll show you some of the keyboards, and I will demonstrate for you what they sound like. And so how did I get here? You might wonder, what's the first instrument I played? Well, there's a funny story, given all these guitars that I have here behind me, that when I was about 9 years old, my mother came to me one day and she said, "How would you like to take accordion lessons?" And I said, "Well, I really would like to play the guitar." And she said, "Well, let's go down to the music store and see what they say." So we went down to the music store, and I told the man there that I wanted to play guitar, and I was 9 years old, and he looked at me and he said, "Well, I think your hands are too small to play guitar, so we'll start you on the accordion." I think basically the idea was my mother wanted me to take accordion lessons to begin with, and so I was bound and destined to take accordion lessons to begin with. And so I took several years worth of accordion lessons. And I still have my very first accordion. just happen to have it here. And the accordion instrument, the accordion is an instrument that you wear. It hangs on you by means of some straps that attach it to you. And I'll put it on right now. Believe it or not, I can still sort of play it, even though I haven't actually played the accordion in many, many years, at least not seriously. But the accordion was what got me started in playing keyboards. And as a matter of fact, my grandparents had a piano in their house, and I used to like to play the piano such as I could from the time I was about 6 or 7. And I eventually got pretty good at picking out tunes on the piano. So the accordion has these buttons on the left which play chords. And it has keys on the right which play the notes, but you can play chords also with the keys. And the buttons on the left also provide basically sort of a beat, like that. So there's a bit of rhythm to it, and there's tunes like melody and harmony and a basic sort of bass backup to it. So one song I practiced for this particular occasion is called Beer Barrel Polka, and it goes like this. So I won't subject you to any more of the accordion than that, but I wanted to give you an idea of what the accordion sounds like and how it's played. And this was the very first instrument that I played. And I used to be a lot better at it, of course, although I will admit that practicing was not one of my strong points. And even so, I can still pick out a tune on the accordion. It's really meant for a child. It's not, this particular model is meant for someone much smaller than myself, so that's why I have such a hard time getting into and out of it. But there it is. Stanelli is the name on that. And the reason that I got this particular accordion was because when we took accordion lessons, they used to put tape on the keys to show us which keys were which. And this accordion had fancy sort of blue and black shiny kind of tape on them, on the keys. And originally it was played by someone else in my class, and when they left, this one became available, and my parents bought it for me because I liked it so much. So I still have it all these years later. I'll put this down here out of the way. So then a few years later, I still wanted to play the guitar, and by this time I was 12 or 13, and my parents were reluctant to buy a guitar for me because I think they felt that because I hadn't practiced on the accordion very much, they felt that if they bought me a guitar, it would very likely sit in the corner and gather dust, and I wouldn't practice and I wouldn't do anything meaningful with it. So I had to get my own guitar. And luckily one summer I had an opportunity to mow a neighbor's lawn for $5 every week. So for every week I would go over there and mow the lawn, and I would get $5 a week. And at the end of the summer I had about $35 saved up. And I decided that I'd go down to the music store and see if there was a guitar that was within my price range. And so I went down there and I saw this beauty. Yes, this is the very first guitar I ever owned, and I bought it. I think it was a little bit more than $35, but not very much more. Maybe it was $40 or something like that, and it needed a case, which so my mother pitched in the money to get to pay for the rest of this guitar and to buy a cardboard case for it. And I started taking guitar lessons, and the first guitar lessons I had were just very basic folk guitar lessons, which were, you know, tunes like as you can hear, this guitar doesn't really, it sounds okay. It's not a bad guitar, but I'll tell you, this guitar and I became practically inseparable. And maybe it was because I had, for the most part, purchased it myself, and maybe it was just because after so many years I finally had a guitar to play. And at first I didn't really know what to do with it. You know, I was learning some basic chords like D, G, which she showed me how to play like this, and A and E, and before long my fingers were very sore, but after a while you develop calluses on the pads of your fingers, and then it doesn't hurt anymore. But the strings of this guitar are relatively difficult to press down on. And given that, and given the number of years that I played this guitar, it's kind of amazing that I stuck with it. But part of that was a friend who showed me a very simple finger picking technique, which went like this. And that was the finger picking for Where Have All the Flowers Gone? And it was the first actual song I actually learned. By actual song I mean actual song that was on the radio at the time. So it was something that really gave me a lot of happiness to be able to play something that you could hear on the radio. And I started experimenting on my own, and before long we moved from Pennsylvania in the United States, which is where we were living at the time, to Montreal, Canada, and of course I brought this guitar with me. And in fact, in subsequent years, we would go on camping trips and various other kinds of family trips. And you have to picture this because I was the oldest of 5, so we had 5 kids, and we had a dog, and 2 adults, and all the luggage that one brings on a trip. And if we were going camping, we had a tent and all camping paraphernalia that goes with that. And I brought this guitar even on trips like that, and even when we would travel long distances, for instance to visit my grandparents, I would bring it with me, and I used to like to play it for people because, you know, eventually I was learning more songs. And we joined a folk church group, and this was like 1969, 1970, and that folk mass was a new thing, and I was happy to be able to join, and I learned an awful lot about playing guitar by doing that. And met some great people who influenced me, and before long my brother and I got signed up for classical guitar lessons. I'm just going to go back here and grab the classical guitar that's on the wall. This is not the original classical guitar that I had when I was first playing classical. I'm not even sure if it's in tune. It's mostly in tune. And let's see if there's something I can play still. So that's what a classical guitar sounds like, and that's what classical guitar music sounds like. Let's see here. I wonder if this tuner has any battery in it. And just in case you're really impressed and you think I just tuned this guitar by ear, this guitar has a built-in tuner. So it shows you when each string is in tune. Like that. If I didn't have a built-in tuner, I would want a tuning fork, and I would tune the A string. to the tuning fork. That's what's known as a harmonic. Oh, hitting one of my keys there. And so what I would do is I would tune the A string to the pitchfork or tuning fork, and then I would use harmonics to tune the other strings like that, and that is how you tune a guitar. These days a lot of people use electronic tuners, and that's good. I use electronic tuners when I can, which is generally every time I tune a guitar these days. This is a different kind of electronic tuner that goes on other guitars that don't have an electronic tuner on them. In fact, I used it to tune my first guitar back there. So this is a classical guitar, and you can play other kinds of music on a classical guitar besides classical. You can play jazz. So that is the classical guitar. So I studied classical guitar for during high school and after high school. Now, because we lived in Montreal, which is in Quebec, after high school they had a thing. They abolished grade 12 while I was there. I think I was in grade 10 when they abolished grade 12, and they rearranged the school system. And so they brought grade 7 into the high school, which used to be grade 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now it was 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And so after grade 11, they had something that was meant to be in between high school and university, and it was called Cégep, which it stands for Collège d'Enseignement Général et Professionnel, which translated into English means a college of general and professional learning. And it was sort of along the lines of a junior college, because you could get a type of certificate from that, and you had to have that to get into university. You could no longer get into university straight from high school. So, let's see, I think I started studying classical guitar in 8th grade, or grade 8. And so the 4 years of high school I spent studying classical guitar. And the year after high school I went to a cégep called Dawson College, where I wanted to study music. I didn't really want to study music. What I wanted to do was be a rock star. And so needless to say, that didn't go very well. I ended up not really studying. I ended up spending time in the hallways jamming with friends. I still learned a lot about music and about playing guitar. I did go to some classes, but I didn't finish the year. And my second attempt at Cégep was equally disastrous. So generally I didn't get a university education. Sorry about this. I know it doesn't look good, but it's an addiction. It's something that I'm trying to overcome. So I hope you'll forgive me if I vape occasionally. So what was the next step on my musical journey? Well, I was writing songs at the time. I'll have to admit, I don't think the songs I was writing at the time were really all that good. But I kept trying, and in fact, that first guitar was a constant companion from the time I bought it until I got a better guitar. Well, my first classical guitar was a better guitar, but you couldn't really play steel string acoustic music on it. You couldn't play it with a pick because that would ruin the top of the guitar because it didn't have a pick guard. And so I kept that first guitar and played it for quite a while. The next guitar I got was my first electric guitar, and it wasn't a really very good guitar, but I bought it from a friend of a friend who was selling it for, if I remember correctly, something like $50, and it came with a little amplifier, and it was really not the type of guitar and amplifier that a young budding rock star would want to have, but it was something that I could afford at the time, and I was able to play it and learn on it. And in fact, one thing I used to do on this guitar quite often was just sort of sit there playing different chords until something inspired me. And wouldn't you know it, just last night when I was practicing for this video, I just sort of picked it up. I thought, what shall I play on this guitar for this video? And I went, maybe I'll turn that into a song at some point. So I'm going to keep it in mind, and perhaps this guitar still has things to teach me and still has inspiration for me in terms of writing music. As you can see by looking around me, I really have gone through a fair number of guitars. Yeah, okay. I get confused between right and left because I'm looking at myself on the screen while I'm talking, and I saw that old guitar sitting right there. I saw the neck right there, trying to point to it. And I thought, which guitar is that? Because I know I have one of my newer guitars right over here, and now I have basically at this point 2 classical guitars, 2 acoustic guitars, steel string acoustics, aside from that old one that I have. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 electric guitars, and then I have several synthesizers, which I'll show you in a bit, and so this is a guitar that I purchased recently. I have to tell you that going into a music store is a very dangerous thing for me, because I usually end up spending a lot of money. I usually end up buying things. As a matter of fact, why don't I take you on a quick virtual tour of my music studio before I get into something else. You can see it's so crowded in here that it's hard to move without hitting an instrument. Now, if you will bear with me, I'm going to stop my video for just a second while I reposition the camera, just so you don't get seasick while you're watching the camera move. And then I'll show you a few more parts of my studio. So this is the view that I see when I'm looking at my studio desk. I have a pair of headphones there. I have my audio interface, which is the thing that connects the audio inputs. It connects, things I plug into it to the computer, and the computer has recording software on it. This is a small mixer that I have that allows me to add things to the extra things that the audio interface doesn't have room for. And this is a type of synthesizer called the Roland MC101 Groove Box, which I'll demonstrate a bit later. And over here we have a Behringer Model D. That's it at the top there. That's the Behringer Model D. And this is a modular synthesizer that I put together myself. I bought all the different modules and put them together. This is a MIDI controller, which is a fancy way of saying that it's a keyboard that controls other things. This is a Moog synthesizer. It's called a Moog Matriarch synthesizer. And this is the amplifier I have at the moment, which is called the Spark, and it's by a company named Positive Grid. And I bought it because it's a nice loud amplifier and it sounds really good, and it's small enough that I can carry it around, and I can go, when things become safe again, I can actually bring it out to play at open mics and things like that. And this is the Behringer Deepmind 12D, which is another synthesizer that I have. I have a pair of studio monitor speakers, which I bought I got at a good price. And I have an iPad which I use to display lyrics, and also it has MIDI functions that control other things as well. And this is called a Helix LT. It's by Line 6, and it is it basically emulates a number of guitar pedals and amplifiers, but it also has MIDI functions, and I'll demonstrate that a little bit later too. And just give me a second and I'll mute my video just so I can put the camera back where it should be without making everybody feel like they're moving around. So that's my studio, parts of it that you can't obviously see just seeing this view here. The tape machine you see behind me there unfortunately doesn't work at the moment, but it's a really good one, so I intend to get it fixed at some point. And there's a person in Mississauga who can fix it for me, and I don't know what it will cost to get it fixed. I don't imagine it will be inexpensive. I expect it'll probably be fairly expensive to do that. So I'm going to wait until I can afford to get that done. And so this is an acoustic steel string guitar that I bought recently. Oh, and by the way, I want to explain what MIDI is for those of you who don't know. It stands for Musical Instrument Digital Interface, and what it is an electronic language that lets various pieces of equipment talk to each other and understand each other and give each other commands and understand the commands that are given to them. So for instance, from my iPad, when it's hooked up correctly, I can turn to a song and I can have it tell the Helix what preset to choose, and I can tell the Moog over here whether it should get set up for a particular arpeggio that I may have stored or a particular sequence that I may have stored. I can have it tell the Deepmind 12D back here to get a particular setting, bring up a preset that it has that might relate to that particular song. And with this keyboard, which I'll show you a little bit later, it has a sequencer in it which can basically control several other synthesizers at the same time to provide instructions to tell them what notes to play. So I can have various synthesizers running, and then I can maybe play guitar while the synthesizers are running, or I can play the Moog synthesizer while the other synthesizers are running. And it's really a lot of fun to play with. But I thought that I would play a couple of my own songs for you so that you could see what kind of music I write. And by the way, I have several songs on Spotify at the moment. Spotify and Deezer and Apple Music, iTunes, lots of different platforms. I've got a YouTube channel, and I have an Instagram account and a Facebook page, and that's where I put a lot of my music. And I have all my own recording set up here, so I record my own music, and perhaps before we're done I will play you a recording that I have made, something that's up on Spotify, and just so you can hear what I can do in my studio here at home. First song that I would like to play for you is a song called Mad About You, and I wrote this song just this year. So here it is. It's called Mad About You. I'm mad about you. I'm really mad about you. When you first came into my life, everything changed. I love you true. There's really no one I love like you. You calm my fears and fill my nights give me everything I could ever want or need. And all that you ask is that I love you. Oh, how I love you. I can't believe what you do. The loving little things you do. You take me places that I've never been. You show me things that I've never seen. The possibilities are endless because of you. You give me everything I could ever want or need. And all that you ask is that I love you. Oh, how I love you. And when we make love, it's like heaven, heaven on earth. How could we take love so far, so far? I'm mad about you. I'm really, really mad about you. Oh yes, I'm really mad about you. I'm mad about you. I hope you enjoyed that. Let's see, what else have we got here? Come on. Turn page. I know it would be a mistake to wet my finger for an iPad. Okay, this is kind of a fun little song that I wrote a couple of years ago. Actually, if I remember correctly, I wrote this quite a few years ago. And it's called Love is the Answer. A chance to kick back and relax. No. Every day there's a new kind of problem to solve, a new kind of hassle. It never ends. All you want is a chance to kick back and relax. It never seems to happen, my friend. Love is the answer. I say that love is the answer. I'm sure of it now. Love is the answer. Something tells me, yes. For this song, I should be using a capo. Now, a capo can be thought of by some people as a cheater. What it does is it allows you to play in a different key and use certain chord shapes that maybe sound better. So this is supposed to be a capo on the 3rd fret, and I'm supposed to play like C chords. So let's try this again. This puts it in the key of E flat. Every day there's a new set of problems to solve, a new kind of hassle. It never ends. All you want is a chance to kick back and relax, but it never seems to happen, my friend. And love is the answer. I'm sure of it now. Love is the answer. Seems like craziness abounds. All around us is chaos, and no safe haven where we can unwind. All the dreaming and scheming we do goes for nothing, and we never get our day in the sun. But love is the answer. I'm sure of it now. Love is the answer. I say that love is the answer that we're looking for. When the world goes to pieces, seems too hard to mess with, just too much to deal with, just want to chuck it all. If we stick together, we might just get through it. We might even have some fun. Just remember that love is the answer. Love is the answer. If we just believe, love is the answer that we're looking for. Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, don't hurry, don't hurry, don't hurry. If we believe in love, hope, don't worry, faith, don't worry, peace, don't worry, joy, don't worry, empathy, don't worry, courage, don't worry, perseverance. All the time people snatching and fighting and angry, they can't seem to get what they really want. They don't know, they don't know, they don't seem to know what's really important in life. Just remember that love is the answer. Sing it with me now. Love is the answer. If we just believe, love is the answer that we're looking for. I say that love is the answer. Sing it with me now. Love is the answer. I say that love is the answer that we're looking for. Okay, so that is my that's my reggae tune. So let's put the guitar down now. This is what I want to demonstrate next is the power of musical instrument digital interface, or MIDI. First of all, I'll play a song on my keyboards here. This keyboard for this song is going to be controlling the Behringer Model D and the Behringer Deepmind 12, and I'm going to be playing the Moog. So give a listen to this. Let's just get this set up properly here, and we'll hit the play button. So that is a demonstration of a MIDI controller controlling two different synthesizers while I play a third. So what I would like to show you now is what the Roland MC101 can do. And it's an MC101 groove box, which I think it's mainly intended for DJ type music and that type of thing, but I have my own types of uses for it. Now what I'll do is, because it's small enough, but I will bring the camera down and show it to you. Now you know why I shut my video off before. So what it's got here is it's got 4 different channels, and in this case I'm only using 3 of the channels. The first channel is for a drum track, and these 2 channels are for tone tracks, which the drum track can have a number of different sounds on it, as you'll see, and each tone track can only have one type of sound, but you can play multiple notes on it, and I'm going to be controlling it with my Helix LT. So what I have to do on the Helix is I have to hit the right switch at the right time to bring up the right preset, or the right clip on the Roland MC101. So I hope you like this tune. I actually wrote this tune a very long time ago, maybe 20 years ago I started writing it. and I was just fooling around with a rudimentary recording program that allowed me to use the computer keyboard as a MIDI keyboard and play notes on various kinds of instruments. And I was just fooling around with it one day, and I had a piano sound loaded up, and I just went dun da da dun da dun 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 da da da, and it sort of grew from there. And I've been working on it pretty much ever since, on and off. And with the MC101 Groovebox, I finally have found an instrument capable of allowing me to fully realize this tune. So I hope you enjoy it. The first part you'll hear is the first part that I came up with. Next switch. Another switch. And a fourth switch. Back to the first switch. Second switch. So I'm controlling it with my foot. Now we get to a new section. Oops. Okay, I sort of got things out of place there. I forgot that for the next phrase, I have to go to the next switch. Now another new phrase. So that is where I'm at with that tune right now, and I see that time is pretty much up, and I hope you have enjoyed this little workshop, this little journey through my musical life. I hope that you've learned one or two things, and I hope that you've seen that music can be fun. Learning music can be work, but it can also be fun, and I hope that any of you who ever wanted to take up an instrument will do it, no matter what age you are. I didn't take up the synthesizer until just last year, basically. And that, let me tell you, is a deep rabbit hole. There's a lot to be learned and a lot of different kinds of synthesizers to run through. Actually, before I go, what I thought I would do is demonstrate for you my modular synthesizer. It's got a number of things. It can do a lot of different things. For instance, this is one of the modules. And it makes different sounds depending on how I turn the knobs. And then I have another thing that is made up of a few different modules. So this one emulates a flute, and the reason it emulates a flute is because I have created flute notes for it to play. So if we hit the play button on this other module, the second module is telling it which notes to play, and I have it set up as sort of a random thing. And this next one is emulating this Moog synthesizer because I pulled out some various notes from it. So when I really learn what I'm doing with that, I can make some real spacey music. Anyway, I do hope you have enjoyed this workshop, and I hope that you have a very happy Thanksgiving weekend, and maybe I'll see you again sometime. Thank you, and have a good weekend.